First up, the new Premier of British Columbia, Christy Clark. Here's her bio.
As much as Christy Clark loves politics, it hasn't exactly consumed her life. In fact, back in 2004, Clark was BC's deputy premier, but she was also a new mom, so she quit politics to spend more time with her family.
The government's going to be able to find another politician, but Hamish is never going to find another mother.
Fast forward 7 years, and now Clark is the Premier of BC. So at the age of 30, she won a seat with the provincial Liberals. And when they took power in 2001, Clark became the Education Minister, then went toe-to-toe with the teachers' union over issues such as class size and the role of parents in the classroom. Then when she stepped away from government, she carved out a new career as a columnist and a host of her own talk radio show. But, you know, politics, it's like the mob. Every time you get out, I keep pulling you back in. Last fall, former Premier Gordon Campbell resigned after bringing in the unpopular harmonized sales tax, and, well, let's be honest, his government was in a shambles. Clark threw her hat back in the ring, won the party leadership, and was sworn in as Premier. But she's got her work cut out for her. Because of the HST, her party's popularity has dropped huge. And then there's a referendum coming on the tax.
What's that?
And then there are the critics.
Christy Crunch. New package, same old product.
The opposition, New Democrats, say Clark is just more of the same and was one of the most confrontational ministers of the past decade. But Clark is promising change, claiming she can create jobs, fight poverty, and put families first.
Now we come together to deliver the promise of change.
Please welcome the Premier of British Columbia, Christy Clark. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Thanks for having me. Thanks, everybody.
Welcome to the program.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Are you surprised that you're back in politics like this?
Yes.
Yeah?
I have to say, if you asked me 6 months ago, I would never have guessed I'd be doing this now.
So what happened?
Well, you know, I sat back and I thought, I've always been drawn to public life. I was raised in it with my dad being in, you know, kind of a political volunteer all my life.
Your dad, he ran just so they could, not even to win. Your dad just ran to be a part of the process, right?
That's right. He was a school teacher, and he was a BC Liberal all those years, and he was the riding president. So he said, you know, when you can't find a candidate because you're guaranteed to lose, the riding president has to run, and he did it 3 times. So we always talked about politics and public service around my dinner table, and that was what I was raised with. So, you know, the party was doing very badly. The province was, you know, kind of on the precipice, I thought, and I felt, you know, I can still offer something to public life, and that was why I decided to get back into it. It was a very hard decision, though, because I have a 9-year-old son, as you know, so it took me a long time to kind of get there, but I'm glad I did.
Well, you did one of the rare things. You left public life for family, and you said so, and then, but like you said, your kid's 9. Still a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
So how do you get back into politics now? Is it a better system for you where you can do it?
Well, it's a better system when you're the boss, when you get to decide. I mean, I think all the women out there would say, if I was designing my work hours, it would be a lot easier for me to be a mom and do my work hours. So I'm able to do that. That's different. But second, though, he is 9, right? So he's busy with hockey, soccer, chess club, guitar lessons, all those other things, right? So he kind of needs a taxi driver.
You have him in all those programs? When does he get to be a kid?
Well, I mean, you're a kid when you're playing hockey.
He's got to get bored. Kids got to be bored, don't they?
Well, you know, he has lots of time to be bored.
Then again, I don't have a kid, so I don't know anybody.
Well, he's a goalie.
Okay,
so maybe that provides him some time between the pipes. I don't know.
You're walking into a situation where the outgoing premier was so unpopular, it was alarming. He was so unpopular that it made news across the country, and he's unpopular for something that you have to deal with, which is the HST. So what's your position on the HST?
Well, I support the HST, and I said this for the entire time that I was on radio. I was advocating for it as an editorialist on my radio show. But I recognize that lots of people disagree with me. So we're going to have a referendum. People are going to get a chance to vote, make their own decision about it. And my view is that the government can't give people a snow job on it. We can't be sitting there saying, well, we support it and we urge you to vote for it because it's the best thing since sliced bread. We have to say, or since crispy crunch or whatever, right?
Crispy crunch, yeah.
So to say to people, look, I support it. I think it's good for the economy. I think it'll create lots of jobs for families. We're going to give you the information on the upside and the downside, and we'll let you make the decision about it.
You know, that's a BC thing. I know in Ontario and other provinces they've talked about the HST, and and different versions of it exist. The biggest thing that's a national issue, we certainly talked about it on our shows in 2014 when the deal with the provinces expire or changes for healthcare in this country. The Tim Hortons as a hospital waiting room here became a symbol across the country of how screwed the system can be. So, as a premier, what are you looking for in 2014? What do you think will be a reality with the government in 2014 for healthcare?
Well, for healthcare, I think it's, I mean, that's the elephant in the room for all Canadians. And I think we have to have a real debate with Canadians about what we want healthcare to look like. Because we're somewhere at about, we're at close to 50% of all ministerial spending in government. Every 50 cents of every tax dollar you send to government in British Columbia goes to pay for healthcare. Well, how long can we sustain that before we can't pay for education at all anymore? What about protecting children who are in dangerous environments? What about protecting the environment? I mean, you don't have money to do all those other things that are important. And we have to have that debate about how we would change healthcare to make it sustainable in the longer term. And I think Canadians have been kind of shortchanged by politicians who've been frightened of the debate for too long. And politicians sit and look at us and they say, well, you know, I don't think you're ready for that debate. Well, I think Canadians are ready for it. I think we're grown up enough.
Your father passed away just before you were elected, but he saw you get the nomination, right?
Yeah.
What would he have thought of the career you've made?
I think you'd be pretty proud of it. I think, you know, I often think about both my mom and my dad. And my dad tried to make a go of politics. He really, really, really cared about helping people. And so did my mom. She started daycares and stuff like that. So I think between the two of them, they would look at this and think they were proud of me for doing public service. And that's why I'm doing it.
Explain this to me. Why, I mean, the level of engagement with women in politics provincially is much higher than it is federally. If you look at even this campaign coming up, both the Conservatives and the Liberals are not running nearly a representative number of women as candidates. The NDP are actually somewhere near half, so they've got a better turnout. They're higher than everybody else. What is it about what is it about not getting women into federal politics as candidates? Do you think there's something going on that prevents it? Is the system not designed to be equal?
Yeah, I mean, I think the travel's really hard for women because we still have the bulk of childcare and then, you know, and parent care responsibilities just kind of, you know, that we take on. So I think that's a big part of it. I have talked to a lot of women about why they don't run for office. The first thing they say is the travel, how much time is it going to take away from my family responsibilities? And I think the second thing is federal politics is even meaner than provincial politics. And women really don't like that. And that's the second thing women say, I don't want to get into it. People are going to be tearing me down and saying terrible things about me. I just, you know, men have a different approach to it than women. And I think that level of nastiness at the federal level turns people off.
See, as a man, I hate it too. Like, I can take it, but I hate it. And when I watch it, I start to think, well, how do you change the tone? And I hear politicians for the last 10 years talking about changing the tone in politics. And even provincially, and it's not getting nicer provincially either. We just seem politically in this country to be going down a road which is a little bit, for lack of a better word, dumber. And that kind of jingoistic style of partisan politics that I think leads this country down a terrible path. So you're inside, what's happening?
Well, I think it's easy and it's cheap, and, you know, I mean, increasing voter turnout isn't what, you know, lots of politicians are interested in. They're interested in just getting more votes than the other guy. So if they decrease voter turnout by being really negative and their guys still show up, they'll take it, right? They're happy to take it. And I think, though, there's a bigger thing at work, which is, in general, the media. And you look at shows like Survivor and, you know, Housewives of Orange County or whatever. It's all about these nasty people getting ahead, and we watch and we love it.
Yeah,
right?
Reality TV shows people losing all the time.
Yeah, yeah. And so I think we're just becoming a less civil society. And so politics kind of reflects that too. I wouldn't blame it all on politicians wanting to have it that way. I think reality television, our interest in mean people getting ahead sometimes, and how attractive that is to us, I think we have to take some responsibility for that.
When Stephen Harper became the Prime Minister of this country, a very key part of his speech to the country was that the West wanted in. Is the West in?
Oh, I think so. Absolutely, the West is in. I mean, we always want to be more in than but our population is growing, our number of MPs in the House of Commons is growing, and our economic might is probably at its height, and it's going to keep growing. China is where the action is. That's next door to us, not anybody else. This is where the action in this country is, and you're going to find that out when we get to the Stanley Cup Finals.
Is that? Yeah, that's a pro-politician move right there. Good to see you, Premier. The Premier of British Columbia, Christy Clark, everybody. Stick around, we'll be right back with Ian Hannah Manson.